Let's Talk About is a program put together by Trinity United Church at Legon to enable all of us discuss topical issues that confront us as Christians. And for today's edition, we are discussing sex and intimacy in old age. You can reach us on our Facebook and YouTube platforms and on our WhatsApp platform on 050-157-996, 050-157-996. Every youthful generation believes themselves to be the originators and only practitioners of sexual intercourse. It's almost inconceivable for the average young person to attribute sexual desire or activity to their parents. Somehow we believe we came out of nowhere. The ignorance softens as we grow, but lingers enough for us to be a little uncertain by the time we can be described as senior citizens. Are we supposed to be having sex as we grow old? Do our parents have sex as they age? What about intimacy that have been built over the years? How do we express that? How do you carry on in the face of your body's own frailties? What about when you lose your partner? How do you build intimacy beyond that? These are the questions that linger on as one ages. But can we make a considerable dent in them as we talk to today's guest? Our guest for today, this evening, is Reverend Isaac Kwesi Asante Eje, a retired Baptist minister and former director of the Christian Education and Auxiliaries Department of the Ghana Baptist Convention. He now worships with Rehoboth Baptist Church, Queen. He's married to Mrs. Naomi Asante Eje for the past 39 years. So I think we can say that Reverend Asante Eje has transitioned from the youthful age through to midlife, and we can call him a senior citizen. So, Papa,
left-hand side was a good one as well.
We are more than happy to have you here today to talk to us about old age, sex, and intimacy. I am your host for today. My name is John Amos Etutu, and we are happy to have all of you here with us today.
Now, Galatasaray have a throw-in.
Papa,
pleasure to be with you tonight.
Today we are doing a hybrid show. We are doing high tech. Our high tech is high tech today. I'm here in the studio, and Papa is home with today. But the conversation continues. So, Papa, I think my very first question is, what is the difference between sex and intimacy?
Hello?
Yes, please. What is the difference between sex and intimacy?
Right. It's a pleasure for me to be with you tonight via technology. Sex and intimacy. I rather wish we say intimacy and sex.
Okay.
Because intimacy precedes sex.
Okay.
Intimacy is the feeling of being close and emotionally connected to someone. It could be physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual. So that connection we have with people, with someone, let me say, of the opposite sex in this context. But we as Christians, and in Ghana for that matter, are looking at this topic in the context of a man, woman, husband, wife relationship. So the intimacy is that feeling of closeness to spouse, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So that sense of closeness is what we call intimacy. Now, this eventually leads to sex, which is the ultimate of intimacies. So when all these come together, and then the high point will be to have sex, because then the intimacy becomes a prelude, to sex. So yes, you can have intimacy without sex, but you can't have sex without intimacy.
That's interesting. So we can have intimacy without sex, but you can't have sex without intimacy. And is this within the Christian context or in all contexts?
in all contexts.
In all contexts.
In all contexts. Because I mentioned the physical, the emotional, the mental, and spiritual. Remember, Jesus said something that when you look lustfully at a woman, you've committed adultery. So, in a sense, you have been connected with that person emotionally, maybe even mentally, though there may not be that physical connection. But when sex is present, then that physical presence becomes a reality and a critical component of intimacy.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask a question now I want you to answer, and it will be a prelude to a question that will come later on in the conversation. Can there be intimacy with someone who is not a spouse?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Can be intimacy between two people who are not married.
Yes.
Because intimacy is closeness. You may be close to someone at work, someone in the church, and you, because of proximity, you may be close every time after church, you are together. So you develop that sense of intimacy. Or it may be over a distance. You may be in Ghana, he may be outside Ghana. But it becomes an emotional and mental intimacy. So intimacy is not only in the context of sex and marriage, but it can be found even outside marriage.
Marriage, okay.
It's actually can be found in all relationships.
Okay. So now, since we are talking about intimacy and sex in old age, let me ask, how does intimacy mature with age? Let me put it that way. Does it grow? Does it develop?
Intimacy, intimacy is actually a living thing.
Okay.
And it grows because as you engage with your partner, as you live together, and of course, it depends on the context in which you are living. If the ambience, the environment is healthy, then with time, you age together and you grow together. There may be hits and bumps, but because of the bond of marriage, and we're talking in the context of marriage now, then you come back, make amends, and continue from wherever you have slipped. And with time, you learn to bond. You begin to know each other. You know, sometimes even before they speak, you know what they're going to say, because you've been so close, you've been so nurtured together, you've been so bonded together that you are able to communicate telepathically. And so with time, given the right environment, you grow together. You grow together. And as a result, the intimacy also grows. The converse is when you are not growing together, where there are hiccups and there are unresolved issues, then the relationship is affected. And once the relationship is affected, intimacy is also affected. So that's how it is. When the environment is ripe, when it is good, then it grows, and it grows, and it matures, and it becomes richer and better. And I pray that, and I hope that's what ought to be. Once you are married, remember you are on a marriage journey, and that journey must, of necessity, be nurtured within the context of intimacy. So as you grow, yes, there may be challenges, there may be issues, but with God's help and with a commitment to the marriage institution, the couple will, as of necessity, will have to grow together. And I'm saying sometimes, unfortunately, some don't grow together. So yes, they are married, yes, they are counting time, and yet they are not developing together. They are not growing together. They are not, the married child is not growing into maturity. So those would be aberrations. Those are not the normal things we expect.
Okay.
But we expect that as we age together, we will grow together, and our intimacy, or for that matter, also become richer and better.
Okay. So we've talked about the intimacy part. Now, what about the sexuality part? How does sexuality in marriage also grow or change with age? The different stages of it.
Sex in marriage also grows and it changes.
Okay.
Because number one, for one, I married when I was in my 20s.
Okay.
Now I'm in my 60s.
That's 40,
I'm not
almost
that
40
young
years.
man. Yes. I'm not that young man who got married in 1984. Next year will be 40 years of our marriage.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm not that young man any longer. I'm now a middle-aged, early adulthood man. I'm my early adulthood. Adulthood starts at they say
40.
40, but I think adulthood must start at 50, and then the late adults are those who are in their 80 plus. So I'm in the early part of it. So the young man who got married in 1984 was strong. He was vibrant. He was agile. He was athletic. I mean, he was everything, and therefore his desire and appetite for sex was great, and he had to get the best out of it. So those days are not as they are now. Now at this age, I'm not as strong as I used to be. I'm not as fast as I used to be. My desire for sex is not as potent and as fantastic as it used to be. Those days, you see your wife dressing up, and you just looking at seeing her alone stimulates you, and you want to have sex with her. And thank God I have a wife who is ever ready to meet my sexual desires, and I too willing and ready to meet hers. So whenever I'm ready, she's ready, and so we have a good chance. Today, when she's dressing up and I see her, that sense of wanting and desire to have sex with her doesn't come because of age. Now, after 40 years, you are no longer the guy that you used to be. So I keep looking back. Sometimes I sit back and ask myself, so why was I fighting? Sometimes my wife will say, oh, today I'm not feeling fine. Relax, let's make another time, and I'll be angry. And if she says another time, I mean, how long will it be? Give yourself 24 hours. She will be available. And yet somehow we'll be angry till that scheduled time comes. Today, when she says I'm not ready, I mean, there's no anger because I mean, it will come. So yes, age has something to do with our sex abilities and interests and everything about it. Yes.
Okay, so you've spoken about the frailty of the human body. You've spoken about the lack of growth in intimacy. So I guess the question I want to ask is, what prevents the growth? You've talked about some people are not able to grow the child of intimacy in their relationship, and that's a hindrance in the relationship. And even though they are aging as a couple, the intimacy or the child of intimacy in their marriage is not growing. So I guess my question is, what are the barriers? What is it that prevents us or prevents some people from growing this child of intimacy? Because if I listen to your latter statement about sexuality, so you need the intimacy to balance the absence of sexuality. If I listen to your earlier conversation, intimacy is physical, spiritual, emotional, psychological, and it seems what is needed to move sexuality. At some point, so you need to be able to rely on intimacy to keep the relationship moving. But if you've not been able to, as you said, grow this child of intimacy, and our sexuality is in any way, then our anything. So how do we then grow this intimacy to ensure that when the human body, our physical being cannot match up, we can rely on intimacy to be able to support and balance out the gap?
Yes, I think for me, I only have one word.
Okay.
Communication. Communication. You see, I don't know. We can't overemphasize communication in marriage. It's needed at the beginning of the marriage. It's needed along the journey of marriage. It's needed at every point, including and very importantly, during the latter parts when we are grown old together. Communication. God made man and a woman, and He gives us so many gifts. But God did not give us the gift of reading people's minds. So when people do anything, when your spouse or somebody does anything, you may assume that you know why the person has done what he has done. But that's only an assumption. What will help you know and understand will be to ask, to talk, to communicate with that person. And asking the person and the person telling you what has happened will clear the clog. But when we refuse to communicate, when we refuse to, and communication is the lifeblood of every relationship. And it's needed at every stage. So when couples fail to develop this communication skill as a husband and a wife from the beginning of the marriage, if they don't develop it when the marriage is 1 year old, 2 years, 10 years, by the time they are in their 20th year of marriage and beyond, it becomes difficult to repair. Because the marriage is cumulative. The marriage journey is cumulative. We are where we are today because of where we were yesterday. So if we learn to communicate. If I offend you, you would tell me I'm offended, and I listen to you, and then yes, I agree, I offended you, I'm sorry, I apologize, and we forgive me, and we move on. Then that's where communication helps us. It puts us on an even keel to make progress in a relationship. But when there's an offense and you refuse to draw my attention to the offense, and you keep quiet, and there's cold war between us, yes, it's communication, but it's negative because we are not on talking terms, and it saps the energy of the marriage, and it saps the energy of the intimacy that should otherwise be developed between us. So I will put a point. Look, whatever the reasons people may give, the fundamental issue is communication.
Okay.
Yes, there may be people say, oh, it could be financial. If it's financial and you communicate well, your spouse will understand that there are financial challenges and she will adapt. If it's you have a medical issue and therefore you're unable to perform your functions as a husband in many ways, and you're able to open up to your wife and tell her these are the issues, she will understand. Okay. But when we don't pass on information, when we don't communicate effectively, then we are building a block which will affect us tomorrow. Okay. So communication, let's learn to communicate. Let's learn to be friends. Let's learn to share. Let's learn to be open. Okay. But when we do these things, we are laying the foundation for a better intimate relationship into the future. Okay. So that, as you said, when we cannot have sex because of our old age and the frailties of the human body, we can still remain intimate because there are no clocks. Okay. And the sense of forgiveness and relation and of the intimate and of the marriage will be rich for us.
I have been prompted. I have less than 2 minutes before break, so I'm going to ask you my last question before we go on break. Yes, there's a frailty of human beings, of the human body, but there is still ways and means of improving our sex life as senior citizens. So what are some of the tips or ways in which, as we age, we can still enjoy an active sexual life as senior citizens? Plus or minus?
Well, I think from the start, the couple must know themselves. And as I said, in the early ages for the marriage, if you have real good sex life, then as you age, you will see that things are not as they used to be because of age. Let me give you an example. I think about 10, 15 years ago, I realized suddenly I wasn't as strong and as potent as I had always been. So you start the romance, you want to enter the game, and before you are aware, the big man says, no, I won't go further. he has lowered his head. I didn't understand. I tried to read about it, but so I went and talked to a friend who is a pharmacist. He said, "Oh, Osofo, don't worry. That's why we have these aged lawyers for you. We call them aphrodisiacs. And so talk to your doctor and then come back." I spoke to my doctor friend and my friend, doctor friend. They said, "Oh, well, fortunately for you, you don't have any underlying health conditions. So I'll make this recommendation for you." He gave me some small tablets, and Charlie, how things pepped up, it was fantastic.
The Lord works in mysterious ways.
When you, as a man, when you realize your strength sexually is coming down, talk to the appropriate people. They have the resources, they have the medications to help you. I say, talk to the appropriate people. Just don't walk to any store and buy anything, because underlying medical conditions have serious implications on those who use these aphrodisiacs. And now let me caution the young men who are into aphrodisiacs now. Those medications are meant for old people like us, not meant for young people. You are supposed to on your own strength, natural strength. So please, if you start using them now, by the time you grow old into my age, nothing will help you. So please, young men, stop using aphrodisiacs. They are meant for people like us.
Osofo, thank you very much. We'll go on a break right now, but please, we would love to hear from you on either our Facebook, our YouTube, or on our WhatsApp platform at 050-157-9996. Whilst we take this short break, and then we'll come back and continue our conversation. Thank you very much.
With the growing challenges of life in light of both global and domestic development, the Christian is faced with the difficult task of balancing survival within a secular system and at the same time living a Christian life that pleases their Maker. It is for this reason that we need to have frank conversations on the many issues of life through the Christian lens. So, we bring to you Let's Talk About. On Let's Talk About, we talk about health, career, dating, marriage, family, divorce, politics, finance, and all the issues of life that the Christian is confronted with on a daily basis. Join us this and every Wednesday on the YouTube and Facebook pages of Trinity United Church Legon, and let's talk about life as Christians.
This is GKV Foods, a community-based zero-waste agro-processing company focused on the coconut value chain. It came about as a result of the health condition of the owner. So I was diagnosed with diabetes, and a friend introduced me to coconut oil as a food supplement to help stabilize my sugars. So after a couple of months taking the oil, I realized that yes, there was a significant change in my sugars, which caused me to look more into the coconut oil as a food supplement. Our product is basically the coconut oil.
Okay. But are there any areas where you think we should talk about?
Charcoal. We are looking into
it's not okay. So let's move on.
Basically, we use the cold press methodology.
So far, so good, I guess.
At no point do we add heat or
Thank you.
additive for that matter.
Right.
So it's just pure coconut oil squeezed out of the coconut meat. We currently can do about 25,000 nuts a day. So 30,000 liters of coconut oil in a month.
Inferior LED lights may tire your eyes over time. Change to Philips LED lights, which give comfort to your eyes. Gentle on your eyes, brighter for your home. Philips LED lights. Innovation and you. Philips.
With the growing challenges of life in light of both global and domestic development, the Christian is faced with the difficult task of balancing survival within a secular system and at the same time living a Christian life that pleases their Maker. It is for this reason that we need to have frank conversations on the many issues of life through the Christian lens. So, we bring to you Let's Talk About. On Let's Talk About, we talk about health, career, dating, marriage, family, divorce, politics, finance, and all the issues of life that the Christian is confronted with on a daily basis. Join us this and every Wednesday on the YouTube and Facebook pages of Trinity United Church Legon, and let's talk about life as Christians.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About, and tonight we are talking about sex and intimacy in old age. Our guest with us is Reverend Isaac Kwesi Asantieje. And before the break, we're discussing how that sex and intimacy change with age. And for the second section, I want us to move a little bit away from sex and intimacy to a different area of aging and the elements of it. One of the, for lack of a better word, the unfortunate component of aging is also losing one's partner. And the idea of when you lose someone you love, someone you've spent almost half of your life with, having to restart that element of your life again, finding companionship. How does one go about that? You've been married for 35, 40 years. You married at the age of 21, 22. I mean, some of our parents married quite young. And then at 65, 70, you find yourself widowed or as a widow or as a widower. How do you restart this journey of finding companionship? That's why I asked the question earlier on of, can there be intimacy with someone who is not a partner? And I think you answered yes. How does one start this within the Christian context? Papa?
Well, that's a tough one because number one, I haven't been there before.
Yes, but you are a counselor and a sophomore, so.
But I have some friends who have gone through, and a friend of mine in Kumasi, I think about 2 months ago, got married to his third wife. The first one died, I think 22 years ago.
Wow.
And he married, and then after 12 years, the second one also passed last year, and about 2 months ago, he's married again. Because his children are all gone. He was home alone with his wife. And now the wife died. How does he live? Who takes care of him? So, as a matter of necessity, after the 1 year celebration, Kwadwo got married again to another lady. You see, the issue of intimacy and sex in old age, especially when you've lost your partner after so many years of marriage, is not something that we can gloss over. Because the loss of a partner becomes part of your own loss. And some are unable to overcome it. I have a friend, a classmate of my own age, in her mid-60s, who lost the wife 8 years ago. He hasn't still married. I keep pestering him. Look, Cephas, please try and get married. He's also for, I'm waiting. And clearly, one time he told me, also for, I'm unable to come to terms with the fact that I've lost my wife. So no lady appeals to me. So it depends on the circumstances. For the men, as I asked this friend of mine, he felt, well, once the woman was gone, life must continue and he must live. He needs a companion, someone who would be with him to keep him company. So he's gone ahead to marry. But this other friend of mine, who is unable to come to terms with the loss of his wife, is still single, close to, I think, 8 years after his wife has left. So it's something that depends on the individual and the circumstances. So that's what I would say. But you see, when we even decide, I asked my friend who got married recently, so how did you choose? How did you arrive at this woman? Then he said, I have known her for over 20 years in our church. She used to be in the same congregation with us, and she moved to a different congregation. She lost her husband about 15 years ago, and I know she's been a widow. And now that I'm also single, I've known her, we've been friends from a distance. What prevents us from getting on together? So at least that knowledge they've had, that relationship they've had in the church for so many years becomes a stepping stone, which will certainly enhance this new relationship that has turned into marriage.
Okay. And then in our society where families, we don't have care homes, our offsprings are our care homes. So was it this afternoon actually, I was watching one of these TikTok videos, and a mother was in the kitchen doing something, and then the son, I think she lives with the son. So the son comes into the kitchen and is like, "Mommy, you say me menda upi," which means and I say I in garden. I say unkanche me say upi, me ma permission say pi. And I say na me ten choko school. And I say I say me tell na me ti ufi no, me pie me menda me catch adwada. Tell me pie. Na mama me permission. Na also to me fie a unkanche me say okọ wedding me menda. And I be catch me say na mama permission say pi. Inti untime nko. So that notion of you live in my house now and you are leaving, you intend to go out and you've not cleared it with me as the caretaker of you, they are going out. So you can't go out. And the child was only one AP, and the mother said, "Enya wasem." So now this mother is now, and it was a joke, but in the context of preparing for today, it was something that dawned on me that this mother is now living with the son. And then the mother said, "Oh, papa, for one jame, and for me in jaw. Me too fear, oh, papa, and for me in jaw. Into me pia, me give permission or." So this mother, I think, is widowed and she's living with a son. And the son feels that if she is going out with somebody, she needs to clear it with him before she moves out. So this idea of we don't have care homes like it's done in the outside world or the global north. So our parents at times live with us as children. And when they are single, they mingle. So how do children who have single parents deal with this idea of our parents are single and may want to mingle? So this was a funny joke on TikTok, but it's a reality for some people now where in the olden days, maybe parents will not bother. Mothers may not bother. I mean, most mothers may not remarry. Maybe fathers may, but most mothers may not. But now mothers are younger. They want to live their own life, and so they may go out. So as children who now have parents who want to socialize, mingle, meet other people, how do we also now, as the children, deal with our parents who are, in our minds, our parents are not active, but our parents may be active. So how do we also bridge this conversation and this generation of sex and intimacy for our parents, and for we are also at home with them? Yeah, how does this conversation happen at home? Especially for people who have single parents at home.
I think the young man has forgotten that his mother is still his mother. Yes, she may be living with you, but she's not under your control, just as you were when you were living with her. When you were living with her, you were a son, you were younger. She was taking care of you. Now you are old enough to take care of her, but she's not under your control. The young man must draw the lines carefully. He can find a way to ask the mother, if you want to go out, who are you going out with? Do you care sharing with me? If the mother wants to share with him, that's her prerogative. If she decides not to, he has no business poking his nose and pushing the mother to know where she's going and stuff like that. Sometimes because they think once you are living with me, I call the shots. But please give your mother that sense of freedom. Let her know that she's old enough to take care of herself and her interests. Let her know that let her understand that you respect her her privacy. So the young man should not bully the mother just because you feed her and take care of her. Doesn't mean you control her as she used to control you when you were a young boy. The dynamics are different. The mother is now single. She's maybe probably lost the family relationship. So be it.
Okay.
Why would you want? He shouldn't be happy that the mother is moving herself out. The young man should be happy. He shouldn't be jealous. He should not be. He shouldn't be jealous. So please tell that young man, and young men, listen. When your mothers are young enough to move out, yes, they are Christians. Let them know that as Christians, we have lines of decency. Barring that, they must be free to mingle. And you, as a young man, should not be the one to dictate how your mother must behave. Because so long as she's young enough and she's strong enough and she has feelings, and her sexual feelings are not dead, they will be with her until she dies. So until then, let her find expression for it.
Okay, Papa. So in this, I'm picking from their feelings. They have edges. It's not dead. To an area that is now somebody who's saying a growing economy, which is there's a question that was asked by me of me. The issue of sugar daddies, sugar mummies, sugar babies. So back to your earlier point of we are growing old, we are not as young as we were. Some people say that's why some people become sugar something. This notion of trying to recapture our youth. And so some people find themselves with younger people in the hope of recapturing what they've lost. How does that feed into the idea of intimacy and sex in old age? Does it help? Does it help to recapture it? As compared to the small pill?
As compared to
the small pill that the pharmacist will give to you, is it the same thing? Does it give the same? Or it's more of a psychological thing than it is of yes.
Yeah, the point is this: we are Christians, and Christians have our own code of ethics. Our sexual lives are ordained by the Lord. So when you are of age and you decide to indulge in a relationship, first be mindful whether the Lord endorses that relationship. That's the first thing. Now, with respect to the age issue, sugar mummies, sugar daddies, these come when the age disparity is so great. Now, if it is going to be a regularized union, and that's your choice, well, nobody can speak against it. But if it's going to be an illicit relationship where you cannot boldly come to church with your sugar daddy or your sugar mommy, then you know what you're doing is not the best. So I remember I spoke in a church somewhere in many years ago, and one elderly man came to me in the office and said, "So I have an issue. So I lost my wife 10 years ago. I live with my son and his wife and the children. Also, sometimes I feel the urge to have sex. So what should I do?" I told him, "Do you have somebody in mind that you want to have sex with?" He said, "Well, there's this lady that I fancy so much." I said, "Is she single?" She said, "Oh, she's also a widow." I said, "Listen, talk to your son that I want to marry this woman. Let the son tell your pastor, arrange for the two families to meet, just a few of you, perform a customary rite, and bring her home to live with you as your wife. And you have a clear conscience to live and enjoy your fantasy until you die." I mean, why can't we should be able to, we should encourage such things. People think of marriage as those big ceremonies. But if, let's say, I'm single, I'm widowed, I'm a widower, and I want to marry again, it shouldn't be that fancy thing. Let the two families come together. Let the church be aware. Perform the customary rites. Announce in church, you have your wife, then you live your life. So when the man wants to take a young girl that he cannot present to the church. When a young lady, an old woman takes a young boy that he cannot present to the church, then clearly there's an issue of conscience. And the Bible has said it, if your heart condemns you, God is greater than your heart. So whatever you do with a clear heart. And if your heart condemns you, clearly it's because you know you are in the wrong.
So back to the example you gave. What if the children, and that's another question we have about the partnered, what if the children, especially when there are older children involved, and the children are not willing to consent to the relationship? What do you do then?
What's your problem?
Pardon?
What's your problem? What's your problem? You are married with your wife. Your father says he's old enough, he has enough strength, he has enough sexual appetite, he wants to marry. And you say, no, who are you? Just because I'm living in your house, you think you can dictate to me?
Maybe it's the mother. It's not the father. Maybe the mother wants to remarry, and the mother is living in the father's house.
No, if it's a mother and the house belongs to the mother and the husband.
Yes.
So you the son, you are an intruder. And that intruder dictates to the landlord.
So they don't need the children's consent. They don't need the children's consent.
Understand and be considerate to the feelings of their old people. The fact that you are supporting her doesn't mean you no, please allow. She's as free as you, only that by virtue of age and maybe financial status. Let's reverse it. You think if the mother or the father was the rich one and the son was not as the one depending on the father, and the father says, I'm going to marry, or the mother says, I'm going to marry, you have a mouth to say, I won't agree. It's only because your father is poor or your mother is poor that you think you can dictate to her. That's not right. That's not right. To the extent that she wants to do something legitimate, please support them. Let them feel human all their lives until they die. Don't deny them of the pleasure of sex just because you think they are too old. Do you sleep with them? Do you know what happens in their body?
So also, is there an age where intimacy and sex is, for lack of a better word, let's take sex for example. At this age, it's a no-go area, or until the Lord calls you at whatever age it is, it's always considered.
You know the story of David and that young lady that they brought to him in his old age.
Also, if I don't remember the age of David, though.
The story of David in the Bible.
Yes,
David
sir.
was old, and when he was old, they brought a young lady. I've forgotten the name. That the lady should warm David in bed. I think David might have been too old to have sex with a young girl, but they knew that he needed intimacy. He needed to be physically present with somebody, to be emotionally attached to somebody, and to be spiritually attached to a young girl, even though they wouldn't have sex. So once it is not just sex, I tell you, the intimacy is critical. Sex is the climax. But if you can't have the sex, the intimacy you can still have and enjoy, even until old age.
So there's a question. It says from Daniel, in what ways can old married couples who live apart for a number of years because of work-related issues develop intimacy leading to sex when they visit each other, not forgetting they have grown-up children already? So work-related issues keep them apart. How do they build intimacy in the absence that can lead to sex when they reconnect?
It depends on what they've been doing all the while that they were apart. I told you, intimacy is not only physical. It's mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual. So even though you were not physically together, you were apart, were you connected emotionally? Were you connected spiritually? Were you connected mentally? If you were doing that, if you were connected in that way, then that connection will also be there to support you at that time that you are talking about. But when you have disconnected because you are poles apart, you are not together, and then suddenly you come together, clearly it will not be easy. But I think with the fact that you are a couple, you are married, will make things a little better. That's if both of you are on the same wavelength. You see, intimacy has critical ingredients. Attention. You must have the attention of the partner. Acceptance. The person must accept you and you must accept the person. Appreciation. appreciate the fact that this person is there for me and I'm there for that person. Affection. You must show affection to the person so the person knows that, yes, I am special. But there must be that allowance of reciprocity. If I give you all the attention, all the acceptance, all the appreciation, all the affection, and you don't reciprocate, you hit a wall, because it's not a one-man show. It's a give and take. And in old age, the issue of these ingredients become critical.
Okay, so also for listening to you, as we age, we need to work at intimacy, and we need to get better as a couple in intimacy. And I guess the question I'm going to ask, with your 39 years of experience, where do couples hit the pothole at intimacy in terms of growing it? Is it at the beginning? Is it during the teenage? You say you are going towards midlife, which is the 40s. So is it during the toddler stages? Is it during the teenage years? Is it during the university stage? Where do couples tend to have? Because there are other people listening who are not senior citizens, but they are also now growing this child of intimacy. So where do they find where does the pothole start coming? So we can also start paying attention to those potholes and build this child of intimacy in relationships.
The potholes start coming right from the wedding day.
Hey, I'm not critical.
It comes right from the wedding day.
Okay.
Once you get married, you have to adjust. And if you don't adjust well, there are potholes.
Okay.
It's a potholes that creates the. And if you refuse to adjust, then the potholes will have influence over you. But if you're able to adjust, then you move on. So honeymoon time, we can have challenges. The potholes are there. But if you're able to overcome those potholes, then you move on to the discovery stage, where you realize that, hey, this man is not as I thought he was, and this lady is not what I thought she was. You begin to discover things about your partner. No, marriage is a journey, but this journey has a map, and that map is clear. You go through honeymoon, you go through discovery, and through the discovery stage, if you are not ready to make compromises, you are not ready to make amends, you're not ready to forgive and forget, you're not ready to give and take, those potholes can end the marriage. And some marriages have ended during the discovery stage, which is between 1 and 3 years of the marriage. But if you're able to adjust, then you move on to the next stage, where the assertive stage, where the man wants to show you that I am the man of the marriage, I'm the head. And they want to show you that, look, I am the woman of the home. So that assertive stage can also be explosive. But if you're able to manage, you move on. If you are not able to manage, it will explode in your face. Everybody can go his own way. Then from there, you can move to the next stage, where the couple will realize, hey, let's make compromises. Let me, for the sake of my children. So there's that desire to compromise, not out of love, but just because of security for the children. Okay. So they manage. And even there, some also explode and they divorce. Then they get the next stage, they realize, actually, how things are going. I think, look, let's cooperate so that we can make amends and then live together. Then by this time, they are getting into their, let's say, the 20th year of marriage. So now they cooperate, they begin to cooperate. Like a company, MD and the managers, everything is cool. But that may not be the best, but it's a survival tactic. Then beyond that, they get to the stage where they realize, look, I think having come this far, I must find ways to enjoy this marriage. So they begin to resolve that, look, there's no turning back. But I'm not going to suffer for the rest of my life. I want to enjoy this marriage. So then they begin to relate and to relive their lives again. And then eventually it gets to the final stages where they realize that, look, till death do us part. You need baby, let's move on. So you see, at every step of the way, there are potholes. But it's for you to manage. I've told you, marriage is accumulation. We are here, we are where we are today because of where we were yesterday. So if you manage yesterday very well, then your today can be excellent. But if you don't manage yesterday well, your today will be difficult because it will not have that solid foundation upon which you will live to launch into the next stage of the relationship. But until we are called home, or until death comes or Jesus comes and we are in the marriage, let's do the best we can to enjoy it. Because if we are in it, what's the beef that we will not enjoy, and yet we are in the boat? Let go, forgive, smile, laugh, and enjoy the marriage. After all, there are no alternative.
Papa, thank you very much. I've been prompted. We have less than 40 seconds to go. So I'm going to, my takeaway from it is, work on your yesterday so your today will be enjoyable. But my final thing to you is, what are your concluding remarks? How do we ensure that we have a successful sexual and intimate relationship as senior citizens? What are your concluding remarks for us today?
What I would say is that we have come a long way. We have come a long way. Let us look at how we used to do it in the past. If you're not doing it the same thing today because of old age, let's find ways to do what we can enjoy today. We don't have any alternative. You are all I have. Let's make the best of it. And I believe with communication, I believe if we are able to relate well, this might not be a difficult thing for us. Because we are now, our children are all gone. We are the only two at home. What else can we do than to enjoy ourselves in intimate ways without any interruption? Let's make the best out of it.
Papa, thank you so very much for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, sex and intimacy are beautiful gifts that God has given to us to enhance our human experience. I think Papa has spoken a lot to us today about the importance of intimacy. Sex is just a bonus in a relationship. But I think what he has kept emphasizing is that we need to grow and grow our intimate lives with our partners. This has been Let's Talk About. Thank you for being with us and for joining us. This has been a production by Trinity United Church East Legon. Join us this coming Sunday at 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. respectively. My name is Ranama Osetutu. Have a good night. Thank you very much.
With the growing challenges of life in light of both global and domestic development, the Christian is faced with the difficult task of balancing survival within a secular system and at the same time living a Christian life that pleases their Maker. It is for this reason that we need to have frank conversations on the many issues of life through the Christian lens. So, we bring to you Let's Talk About. On Let's Talk About, we talk about health, career, dating, marriage, family, divorce, politics, finance, and all the issues of life that the Christian is confronted with on a daily basis. Join us this and every Wednesday on the YouTube and Facebook pages of Trinity United Church Legon, and let's talk about life as Christians.
Family, friends, colleagues, loved ones, young and old, enuanomne adofo nyinaa, Trinity. It is yet another time for our annual Trinity United Church Yaf Bazaar.
Date, Sunday 3rd December 2023. Time, right after the joint service till you drop. There'll be lots of food and drinks.
Come and shop for your office wear, church attires, shoes, home appliances, and many more for this Xmas. Wedie, Yamifie, into the Bona Mouth, Falakra.
You can't miss this for any other thing. Please don't forget, this is for charity, and that's the essence of Christmas. Don't be left out on this year's bazaar.
See you there.
GKB Foods, a community-based zero-waste agro-processing company focused on the coconut value chain. It came about as a result of the health condition of the owner. So I was diagnosed with diabetes, and a friend introduced me to coconut oil as a food supplement to help stabilize my sugars. So after a couple of months taking the oil, I realized that yes, there was a significant change in my sugars, which caused me to look more into the coconut oil as a food supplement. Our products is basically the coconut oil and then coconut powder, coconut shell charcoal. We are looking into other new products, including coconut snacks. Basically, we use the cold press methodology. So at no point do we add heat or any additive for that matter. So it's just pure coconut oil squeezed out of the coconut meat. We currently can do about 25,000 nuts a day. So 30,000 liters of coconut oil in a month.
Inferior LED lights may tire your eyes over time. Change to Philips LED lights, which give comfort to your eyes. Gentle on your eyes, brighter for your home. Philips LED lights. Innovation and you. Philips.
Human Resource Management and Marketing, BSc Nursing, BSc Media and Communication, BSc Economics, BSc Computer Science, and BSc Information Technology. Our MBA programs are MBA Accounting. Tertiary education has become imperative in this new time and age. The rapid need for tertiary education has brought about numerous tertiary schools. The one thing remains true and sure, and is the fact that everyone in pursuit for tertiary education is looking for standards and maximum output. We have a serene atmosphere and qualified lecturers, modern state-of-the-art facilities to enhance learning. NASFA University is located at East Legon, behind Mensvik Hotel. We are affiliated to the University of Ghana and the University for Development Studies. We offer BSc Business Administration with specialization in accounting, finance, human resource management, and marketing. BSc Nursing, BSc Media and Communication, BSc Economics, BSc Computer Science, and BSc Information Technology. Our MBA programs are MBA Accounting, MBA Finance, MBA Human Resource Management, and MBA Marketing. NASFA University, the Royal University of Africa. Tertiary education has become imperative in this new time and age. The rapid need for tertiary education has